All right, everybody. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. It's your boy Cornelius Jones. We are live and we have some very important things to get into today. As as I'm sure as you know, forgive me while I'm getting settled here, getting my trying to get together here, y'all. But as I'm sure most of everybody knows by now, Judge Torres has denied Ripple and the SEC's motion, their settlement motion. And we're going to get into why. We're going to talk about why today. All right. We're going to talk about why. A lot of mixed sentiment in the XRP community about this decision. And let me just start off from the jump by saying my long-term view on XRP has not changed. Okay. What just happened is just a small delay, and the long-term view on XRP has not changed. However, I get the frustration. I definitely get the frustration in the XRP community. And so we're going to go over why. And I have what I did, man, Chat GPT is a wonderful resource. Wonderful resource. I took the picture of the file of the motion that James K. Filan posted for us. I posted it into Gronk and I asked Gronk to summarize this for me. Right. And I asked it a few questions and I read everything to just try to help me get a better understanding on what's going on. So I'm going to read some things here that I got from that and going to rock with you guys in the comments as well. But first, let me just start off with what some of the people are saying that we follow. Right. Fred Rispoli, he had something to say. Stuart Alderati had something to say. And so here's what Fred Rispoli said. He said the meaning here is that the parties didn't request relief under the right rule of civil procedure, so they will refile it under the correct rule. But me reading between the lines is that Ripple and the SEC need to get on all fours and beg for relief. Oh boy. Oh my goodness. That's what that was from Fred Rispoli. Did I save what Stuart Alderati said? Did I save it? I don't think I did. But Stuart Alderati made a statement as well. Let me just pull him up right quick. Let's see here. Stuart Alderati. Let's see. I can't find it at the moment, and I don't want to delay. But he made a statement as well, basically just talking about he was just pinpointing that the SEC and Ripple are on the same one accord. Their settlement still is intact, and they are going to continue this with the court where it already is, with the Second Circuit Court. They're going to continue to get this thing finalized. So it's nothing to worry about. Yes, it is a delay. A lot of people just like, the never ending case. This thing is a show. What's going on, this whole thing. They're just stalling, blah, blah, blah. I get all of that sentiment. I get all of that. But what I'm going to just share with you is exactly the analysis that I got from Gronk. And I find it pretty interesting. So hopefully, as I read through this, you all will have an adequate understanding as well, as far as the exact reason why Judge Torress denied the settlement motion. All right, so here we go. Going to go ahead and read some of this. The question, I put the document in Gronk. I said this document is from the latest ruling of Judge Torres in the Ripple versus SEC case. Please summarize the reason Torres denied Ripple and SEC settlement motion. So here's what it says. Judge Annalisa Torres denied the settlement motion filed by the SEC and Exchange Commission and Ripple Labs for the following reasons. Number one, procedural impropriety under Rule 62.1. The motion was deemed procedurally improper under Federal Rule of Civil Procedure 62.1, which allows a district court to indicate how it would rule on certain motions after an appeal has been filed and the court has been divested of jurisdiction. The court found that the party's request for an indicative ruling did not meet the necessary criteria, as it failed to properly seek such a ruling pursuant to this rule. So they were supposed to file this motion under Rule 62.1. This is the rule that will allow the Second Circuit to bring it back down to Judge Torres so that she could make a decision, and they did not do that. So it was deemed procedurally improper. So that's number one. Number two, and before I get to number two, it just seems baffling to me that these top-notch lawyers didn't get that, right? How did they miss that? Okay, all right. But hey, it is what it is. Now, number two, inadequate remedy request. The court emphasized that the focus should be on the remedy sought, not merely how the parties seek it. The motion did not adequately address the remedy, particularly in light of the significant civil penalty, $125 million, and the injunction imposed against Ripple. Now, I didn't quite understand what that was meaning. I wasn't quite getting what it was getting at. And so I asked it a question. I said, I don't understand bullet 2. What is the difference between the remedy sought and how they are seeking it? And it said, let me clarify the distinction between the remedy sought and how they are seeking it, as referenced in bullet point 2 of the summary based on Judge Torres' ruling. This was very insightful to me. Here's what it says. The remedy sought refers to the specific outcome or relief that the parties, SEC and Ripple, are asking the court to grant. In this case, the remedies they sought was twofold. Number one, vacating the injunction. They wanted the court to lift the order prohibiting Ripple from offering or selling unregistered securities. We knew that part. Part two, reducing the civil penalty. They requested that the $125 million civil penalty be reduced to $50 million. This is the substantive relief they aim to achieve through their motion. The court evaluates the merits of this requested remedy, whether it is justified, reasonable, and supported by evidence or legal grounds, based on the facts of the case and applicable law. So that's the remedy that they sought. I believe we all had a clear understanding of the remedy they sought. But how they are seeking it was the part that I was a little unsure about. And here's the explanation. How they are seeking it refers to the procedural mechanism or legal process the parties use to request that remedy. In this instance, because the case was already on appeal, the district court had lost jurisdiction to directly rule on the merits of the motion. The proper procedure under these circumstances is to file an indictive ruling under Federal Rule of Civil Procedure 62.1. This rule allows the court to indicate how it would rule on a motion if jurisdiction were restored, but it requires the parties to explicitly frame their request as an indictive ruling and provide the necessary supporting information. However, the SEC and Ripple did not structure their motion as an indictive ruling under Rule 62.1. Instead, their motion appeared to be a direct request for the court to grant the remedy, vacating the injunction and reducing the penalty, without adhering to the procedural steps required giving the appeal. This misstep in how they presented their request undermined the motion's validity. The court's point. Judge Torres emphasized that the focus should be on the substance of the remedy sought. Example, whether vacating the injunction and reducing the penalty is appropriate and supported, rather than just the mechanism of seeking it. Example, the procedural approach. However, because the parties failed to follow the correct procedure, Rule 62.1, the court couldn't even reach the substantive question of the remedy's merit. The court statement highlights that a procedurally flawed request cannot succeed, regardless of the desirability of the remedy, especially when the remedy involves significant changes like vacating an injunction or altering a substantial penalty. Okay. So I thought that was good. Nan gave an example for clarity, nice little illustration that I thought was good and helpful. Imagine you're asking your landlord to fix a leaky roof. That's the remedy sought. If you send the request via a casual text message instead of the required formal written notice, how you're seeking it, the landlord might reject it. Not because fixing the roof is unreasonable, but because you didn't follow the proper process. Similarly, the SEC and Ripple's failure to use Rule 62.1 meant the court couldn't consider the remedy they sought, leading to the denial. So that's pretty clear to me. What they're asking Judge Torress to do requires that Rule 62.1. They didn't use it, a procedural misstep. Okay. So are they going to refile and use the proper rule and go back to Torres again? Or are they going to just stay with the Second Circuit? We're waiting, Ralph. We're still waiting to see what the next step is. However, what we do know and understand is that at least Ripple and the SEC are on one accord. At least they are working together to get this thing solved. So there's no reason to get into a tight, to just get into that attitude. Oh, this case is never going to end. Oh, this, that, and the other. Yes, I agree. It's taking a long time. I definitely agree to that. But yes, it's going to end. It will not last forever. Think of it, people. Everybody knows how much is riding on this case. Everybody knows how much is riding on legislation. We got another vote coming up for the off record for the Genius Act. They're voting again on Monday, on the 19th. We'll see if it goes through this time. Okay, we will see if it goes through this time. However, with all the stuff that we have riding on this, it's no surprise to me that these things are taking as long as it is. We're talking about something that is about to underpin the financial system. You know what I mean? So these things are definitely going to take time, but let's continue. We read the first two bullet points. I'm going to read the third and fourth. Number 3 was failure to meet burden for relief. The parties sought to vacate the injunction and reduce the civil penalty to $50 million, but they did not provide sufficient justification or evidence to meet the heavy burden required to vacate an injunction or substantially reduce the penalty. The court noted that the parties made no effort to satisfy this burden, and their request did not even mention the relevant rule. So when you read it, you do see there was no evidence supported to why the injunction should be reduced. I mean, why the penalty should be reduced, or why the injunction should be lifted according to the law. They did not do that. They just asked the judge for the relief. They just asked the judge, hey, can we have this relief? Okay. And she's saying, well, there's some more work you got to put into it. You got to give the evidence on why. And you also got to use this specific rule that gives me the ability to get this back into my hands. Right now, it's out of my jurisdiction. If they wanted to be back in her jurisdiction, there's certain paperwork they have to file correctly. Excuse me, the certain rule that needed to be filed in the motion correctly. And then finally, number 4, lack of jurisdiction and timing. Since the case was on appeal, the court lacked jurisdiction to rule on the merits of the motion unless it was styled as an indictive ruling under Rule 62.1. The party's failure to follow this procedure further supported the denial. In conclusion, Judge Torres denied the motion as procedurally improper and directed the clerk of court to terminate the motion, maintaining the original civil penalty and injunction as per the final judgment. The ruling, we know that. The ruling was issued on May 15th. Okay, so that's it, people. That's what we're looking at. Another small delay. We're used to this. We're not new to this, right? We're used to these type of delays. And it's frustrating for us because we know what we hold. We understand what's riding on these things, but it just is what it is. I wish that we could just speed the process up and get to the end, but it's going to end when it ends. How much longer now is this going to push us back? I'm guessing this procedure pushes us back maybe another somewhere between 30 to 60 days. I don't know for sure, but if we were expecting this to be over in June, well, now let's expect August. Let's expect August, which is fine for me because I'm not expecting legislation to happen until August anyway, right? When the lawsuit plus legislation is completed, that's when XRP is going to be unleashed to do its utility thing. And they're going to happen. We just have to allow these things to play out in the way they're supposed to. So that's my rant, people. Went in for about 16 minutes. I hope everybody has a clear understanding on exactly why Judge Torress denied the motion. Ripple and the SEC, again, they're still on one accord, and we're going to wait to see what their next step is and what they're going to do next to try to get this case over with and done with. We still got a little bit more time. It is what it is. A little bit more time to accumulate, right? XRP was pushing to that 250, 260 range. And then on this news dropped down to like the 230 range. And now I believe it's up to around the 240 something range. But these short-term price movements are not swaying me at all. I understand what I hold. I'm grateful for a little bit more time to continue to accumulate. And we wait. We wait. Hopefully by the end of this year, November 2025, when all of the banks are going to be required to be on the new rails, or they're going to face some consequences in the market. We'll see what happens. We'll see if utility will start to reign at that point, assuming the lawsuit is over and some legislation has been signed and made into law. We got people in the place. Sea Dogs in the place. Back again. What's going on? Red Pill Avenger, what's good? Alex G, what up? I'm glad y'all came through. Thanks for watching the content. Johnny said the case is going to get dismissed in 2030. I feel you, brother. Nathaniel Rosaball back again. Disco R1, Dave Juba in the building. All a matter of time. Once this gets going, it will be a ride straight up. You better believe it, my brother. You better believe it. Hope everything is well at the job, my guy. Hope everything is well. Frozen 06, XRP to $5 in 2050. Trust me, brother. By 2050, XRP, I believe, will be well worth more than $5. But I get the sarcasm. Rob Spinwell, did you see the text that I had sent you a little minute ago regarding this issue? I did not. I will check that. Thank you, brother. I'll make sure I check that out. Big dreams. That's right. Keep buying. Disco R1. Can't cut corners with this, nor should we want them to cut corners. Yeah, absolutely. They're going to do it right. It's just, we want this to be over. We're looking forward to this being over. We felt once the settlement happened that would be all, right? Who would have thought back, 2-3 years ago, well, not 2 years ago, 2 years ago, or a year ago even, that after Ripple and the SEC actually reach a settlement, that the case is still not over. And we still have some ways to go. Well, had they settled it back when Gary Gensler was in power, before Judge Torress made her ruling, well, things will probably look a little different. But because she's made her ruling and now it's gone to a different court, there's just a lot to unravel. There's a lot to undo, and it's going to take some time. It's like if you got two people that got married, right? They didn't have no kids, you know what I'm saying? And, maybe they were renting an apartment or something like that together. A divorce is very easy. They can go their separate ways. But when you have property together, you got kids together, You got a lot of stuff together and you're trying to get a divorce. Well, there's a lot of paperwork. There's lawyers involved. There's a lot more intricacies involved in that process. No matter how much these people may hate each other and want that divorce, the procedural steps, because of the things that have happened in the relationship, may, be a little bit more significant in what y'all know what I'm trying to say. A little harder for them to separate, So that's what we got going on right here. Can't wait for this to be over, though. Nathaniel Roosevelt, I got a good feeling about the end of 2025. They know that this case and legislation has to happen this year in order to enter the golden age, like the president said. Yeah, I have a great feeling about the end of this year. I always had a great feeling about 2025, and here's the reason. From as early as 2023, it was my understanding that that 2025, the end of 2025, November 2025, would mark the end of the coexisting years between the Swift system's MT messages, the old system, and the MX messages, the new system. That's always been my understanding. And now that we're here, November marks a milestone where all the banks have to adopt this new standard, or else they're going to face a competitive disadvantage. They're going to face higher fees, right? Because they're going to have to get other banks who are ISO 20022 compliant to handle transactions for them, right? So we'll see how fast this adoption happens. But as long as legislation is done and the lawsuit is over, I believe that this thing is going to fly, and it's going to cause a lot of faces to melt. It's going to be a lot of mouths, like a lot of eyes, right? It's going to blow our minds. The utility of this asset taking off is going to blow our minds, and it's just a matter of time. Red Pill Avenger, XRP is the most obvious choice for crypto. I agree, brother, but a lot of people still can't see it because they don't research. C-Dog, all things proper and in due time, 100%. XRP will be lucky if it hits $100. RLUSD is being used for liquidity, not XRP. Well, here's where you don't understand. I be killing. Where does RLUSD? How is there going to be liquidity between RLUSD and other things of value, like other stable coins in other nations? How is there going to be liquidity between that? That's where XRP plays a pivotal role. Also, RLUSD runs on the XRP ledger. So what you don't understand, I be killing, is that every time RLUSD is being used on the XRP ledger, it costs XRP as gas fees. So the utilization of RLUSD directly affects XRP. Okay, they work together. They're not in competition with each other. I hope everybody can understand that. The financial system needs a consistent, stable, dollar-denominated unit for trade. They need that. It's an important piece of the puzzle in the new financial system. What RLUSD is doing is not the exact same thing that XRP is doing. That's why they can work together. RLUSD needs XRP. It's not going to be interoperable, and it's not going to be able to it has to be able to transfer into anything else of value at zero fees at lightning fast speeds. RLUSD can't do that by itself. That's where XRP plays in. Okay, so make sure you understand that. K Standy, look up DTTC master plan. I'll keep that in mind. Nathaniel Roosevelt, we just got to keep buying and don't let anyone fud us out. Also, do not compare your bag to other people. 100%. The best bag is the bag you can afford. The best bag is the bag you can afford. And I think we're going to be highly surprised at how small of amount, We'll look back on these days and be like, man, I thought 1,000 XRP was not enough. As it turned out, it's more than enough. Think of it like Bitcoin, right? Right now, 100 XRP seems like nothing. But if you had 100 Bitcoin, wouldn't you be happy about that? Of course you would. I personally believe that XRP is going to get to the same prices that we see Bitcoin today. Time will tell if that is the actual case. Colin Burt, my guy, hello again from Scotland. I'm taking nothing till XRP hits 100. You got to have a plan. It's important to have a plan. You must have an exit strategy. But I do want to say this. Trust me, I'm going to sell some too. I'm going to sell a very small percentage, get the things I want to get in life. But most of my bag, I plan on holding for eternity and living off the passive income generated through various instruments that bring yield. That is my plan with my XRP. I believe that's the wisest thing you can do is use your XRP, utilize it for yield, earn passive income on your XRP, and make sure you are able to keep the appreciating value of your XRP while you're using it in these different yielding instruments. A lot of these things that we're still waiting to come into play. We're going to hear of announcements from banks and other institutions that are giving us these opportunities. We're very early in this space. Lots of legislation still to come, but that's the wisest thing to do with XRP. Earn passive income through yield. The best thing to do. The less you sell, in my opinion, the better long term. When 2030 comes, and it will come, people, you're going to want to be holding as much as XRP as you can when it's trading at $100,000. I don't know what XRP is going to be trading at in 2030. Okay. My point is, as time goes forward, XRP is going to be more and more and more valuable in the long term down the road. I see XRP, if we were to zoom out on a 10-year chart from 2025 to 2035, and when we get to 2035, what we're going to see, I believe, is a price chart that looks like a stair step, because XRP is going to trade pretty much stable. And then as liquidity needs demand it to scale up, we're going to see it shoot up to some high price and then trade stable at that high price. And then it'll shoot up again once demand embarks upon it, once more utility is required. Every time it's required for it to scale, it will do so as they issue more assets on the ledger, build new programs, more volume that's coming in on the ledger, more XRP being locked up, over time. All these factors that bring a stress upon the demand for XRP. We're going to see these places in history where it shoots up. Oh man, we're at $100. Trade stable. Whoop. Oh man, we're at $500. Maybe for a few months it trades stable at that price and then shoots up to 2,500 and just blows our mind, right? Trade stable at 2,500 until it shoots up to 10,000 eventually, right? That's the idea I have what's going to be happening. Remember, this is a utility market we're talking about, a market that none of us have ever seen before. A utility market is going to be very different from the speculative trading market that we're used to from stocks, and then carrying that same, philosophy over to crypto. Cryptos have something that stocks don't. At least some of them do. Utility. And the use case of these stocks is what's going to be the main value driving factor. Mark my words, people. You can mark my words on that. Demetrios, what's going on? ISO 20022 global adoption in November sounds good. Just too good to be true. Hard to believe that it won't be postponed again. That's no way too good to be true. That's just a negative mindset, man. And I get it. I understand at this point why people have, a sentiment that's just kind of pessimistic. You understand? I get it. But it's not too good to be true. All right? Listen, let me scroll back up and look at this comment some more. ISO 20022 is a global standard that must be adopted. That's just a fact. It has to go live at some point, right? Now, have there been previous delays? Yes. But does that mean it's never going to happen? No. Now, maybe there is a delay. That doesn't mean it's never going to happen, right? But last I checked, at this point, there don't seem to be any delays. We're already in May. We're only a few months away. We're what, 5 months, 6 months away until November. So we can't think like that. Okay, this is going to happen. This is going to happen. It's not too good to be true at all. Not at all. Yeah, Nathaniel Roosevelt. Yeah, XRP Val is tripping on X. He thinks 50K minimum, or you're too late. Wait, 50K minimum for what? What do you mean? 50? You talking about the price of XRP? Led Zeppelin back again. What's going on? Monday, they're going to pass that bill. Yeah. May 19th, people. May 19th. Monday, May 19th. I am hoping. I can't even predict that it's going to pass on Monday. I'm just reporting. I know it's going to be another vote on Monday, and I'm hoping it passes. I'm optimistic it will, because it has to eventually. There's no way the United States is not going to get stablecoin regulation done. We may be the last ones to get it done, but there's no way we're not going to get it done. This has to happen. It has to happen. And all them Democrat, anti-crypto goons, they need to go sit down somewhere, because this is happening. Take a loan against it is the second smartest. Take a loan against XRP. Is that what you're talking about? I haven't heard of that idea. Haven't really looked into that. Depository Trust and Clearing Corporation will use XRP. Thanks for that. Absolutely. I agree with that, actually. Phantom Beat. Hey, as long as you... Talking about SHX. Will XRP tap the real estate market through BlackRock? I know BlackRock is going to use XRP with ETFs, of course. They'll probably use XRP through other things, but specifically the real estate market, I know that XRP will be involved in tokenizing the real estate market. But a connection about BlackRock and real estate specifically, I don't know of. AC Perkins, any news on USD Dripple? Yes, absolutely. I'm glad you brought that up. We are going to have a live video, and I am going to we have someone in our private Discord group that just has some connections. He works at a company that's a subsidiary of Berkshire Hathaway, he talks to certain people, has, ability to talk to certain billionaires and certain people that just know certain things. And he has some insight on USDR. And he's going to allow me to interview him on my channel. Okay. So I'm going to interview him, and it's going to be on a Zoom meeting. It's going to be open to the public, and everybody is going to get to find out exactly what happened to USDR and what should we expect in the future for USDR. Okay. This is some information that has not been shared publicly. It's been shared in my private Discord group, and I'm going to allow him to talk about this publicly on a live video. That time is TBA. It's going to be very, very, very soon. Within the next few days, we're going to have that interview going. I've got to get back with them. I believe we said it's going to be Tuesday this upcoming week. We're going to do that interview. So stay tuned to that. Okay. That's going to be a great interview that I'm sure a lot of people are going to want to see. All right. I'm going to rock with you all for a few more minutes. Nathaniel, XRP Val thinks you should have minimum 50K XRP accumulated, or you're late. Okay, I got you. That is ridiculous. Who is anybody to tell anybody else how much you should have? I never do that, right? Even when people usually ask me, I personally think 1,000 is enough, right? But I can't tell somebody you must have this or it's not enough, right? Can't do that at all. It has a lot to do with what price you think XRP is going to get to, right? If you only think XRP is going to $10 or $100, you know what I'm saying? Then maybe you think you may need that much, right? But if you're like me and you believe XRP is going to go to $10,000 or higher, then obviously you're not going to think you need as much. So it's just about what you think XRP is going to go to. But I don't get into the business of telling people what they should have, because even if you share the same vision on what XRP is going to get to, your life is different from my life. What you need is going to be different from what I need. So everybody's amount on what they're going to need is going to depend on a set of circumstances that are, unique just to that person, right? Coinor back again. What's going on, my brother? Mina, there are institutions that will lend you cash for any amount of XRP you have, up to 50% LTV. Don't sell XRP ever. Say, my brother, I need you to email me about that, because I have not heard about that. I'm waiting on some announcements for institutions that will lend you money for XRP, but I haven't heard of any myself. But if you have some information, I don't know what that LTV stands for. So yeah, if you could give me an email, send me an email, corneliusjones1980@gmail.com. I'd appreciate it. I'd like to read more about that. Or I'll just kind of Google it myself and see what I can find. Happy Friday, Red Pill Avenger. It can go to 0.